Hello and welcome to the Big Happy Life podcast. I'm Natalie Britt, and this week I wanted to talk to you about how old habits that you think you've gotten rid of can resurface. So over the last, couple of weeks now, it's exactly 2 weeks. Over the last couple of weeks, I have been taking a new HRT medication. And the result is that I have gained weight and I feel bloated and my moods are doing funny things. And hello and welcome to the Big Happy Life podcast. Hello and welcome to the Big Happy Life podcast. I'm Natalie Britt, and this week I wanted to talk to you about how habits that you think you have conquered, bad habits, let's just call them bad habits, habits that you feel are unproductive, that are not serving you, habits that you would prefer not to have, how they come back and what to do about it. So recently, I have struggled quite a lot. I'm on HRT at the moment, and a side effect of one of the medications that I'm on is weight gain. And over the years, weight has been something that I thought I had made peace with. I thought I was okay with, mild fluctuations in weight. But to have weight gain that I felt I had no control over sort of spiraled me. And what was really interesting is that I returned to old patterns. So over the last couple of weeks, I returned to more of a binge purge cycle. I did that once. And you are the first people I'm telling about that. I haven't even told my husband, so I probably should tell him. But it was an eye-opener. It was an eye-opener for me because I've kind of gotten to the point where, as a habit coach and as a sobriety and moderation coach, I felt pretty indestructible. I was thinking, I've got this all together. So it was kind of a shock to me to be exposed to my own vulnerability and to realize that, like, even when we think we've got a handle on these things, it's really important to be there for ourselves. One of the things that I teach my clients is what I refer to as whole self habit change. And basically what I mean by that is when you have parts of yourself that turn on other parts of yourself, you almost like create this war. And it's like one part of you is judging the other part. Like, how could you do this? That was so stupid. What's wrong with you? You absolute moron. Like, how could you go back to that? You know better. It was so stupid. And my tendency would normally be to go into that space. Like that has always been the way I have spoken to myself. But then I thought, like, what would I say to my clients? What would I encourage them to do at this point? Because when it's my clients, I stand with them and I help them and I show them that these kind of setbacks happen and that the object of the exercise is long-term health and happiness. Like, that's what you're after. That's why you're doing this. So why not do that for myself? Why not figure out, like, okay, what's going on? How do I be there for myself? How do I feel like a whole person? How do I protect and nurture and care for the parts of me that are spiraling so that the spiraling stops and I can start doing things again that will help me? I recorded a podcast about this years ago, actually, about, I think I called it 10 and 2 habits. Like, when you're driving, when you're first learning to drive and they teach you 10 and 2, where your hands are positioned. I think it's 9 and 3 now. I think you have to be here. But when I was learning, it was 10 and 2. And that like when you go into stressful situations, often you return to learner behaviors for driving. But you can do that with your habits too. So what I found over the last little while, as things kind of escalated for me, is one bad habit leads to others. So for me to end up having a situation where I basically purged, a lot happened before that. Like these things have accumulated. So there'd be mornings where I woke up and I didn't bother to meditate because I was too tired and I couldn't be bothered. There were mornings where I didn't exercise. I didn't even bother to move my body. Like I'm a big advocate of Tiny Habits. That's a program by Fogg, and the link to his book is just below this video, for those of you who are watching on YouTube, and you'll find it on the show notes page if you are listening on the podcast. Show notes are on bighappylife.co.uk. So Tiny Habits is all about how you just simply do the tiniest thing. The object of the exercise is you commit every day and you do it. So in terms of exercise, it might be like one push-up or one sit-up or one squat. But you might do that multiple times in the day. So like for him, I think he does 2 squats every time he goes to the loo or something like that. But he can rely on himself to do that. And I really advocate Tiny Habits because I think showing up for yourself and casting that vote for the person you want to be is a really helpful and important thing to do. It's James Clear in Atomic Habits who talks about casting a vote. I'll put a link to that book as well, same places. So what I realized is I was just casting votes repeatedly for the person I used to be. I was casting votes all the time for the version of me that judged herself, that got lost and got disconnected and felt a bit, meh, what's the point? But I don't like showing up like that, and I don't feel good about myself, and it creates this divide. So coming back to those 10 and 2 habits, the first things I had to reintroduce were even tiny habits, going back to meditation and exercise. So in the mornings when I wake up and I'm still not quite there in terms of energy, to be like, okay, well, then I meditate for 5 minutes and I do, the Tibetan Rites or something like that, which, again, I'll put a link to a couple of videos about Tibetan Rites. But it's like a movement practice that just helps move energy around your body and helps you just feel a bit better. You maybe do that rather than a HIIT workout, or do a 10-minute yoga video. I really love yoga with Cassandra, and I also love yoga with Adrian. So one of those two, I would generally put on like a 10-minute video and do that. And that's like my way of committing to myself and showing up, casting votes for the person I want to be. And then I also have reintroduced like finding inspiration from other sources. This morning I was really tired and I just lay on the sofa and I listened to a video by Wayne Dyer, and I found myself feeling quite energized afterwards. I got my journal out afterwards and I wrote some notes, and like my day has progressively gotten better instead of waking up and thinking, oh, I still feel this way. I'm so stupid. Why did I do this to myself? I'm never going to get any better. Like, this is ridiculous. I'm a complete fraud as a coach. I'm never going to have a career. Like, those are the kinds of spirals that can happen really quickly unless you intervene, you disrupt that pattern and do something different. And so returning to those healthier habits in the tiniest possible way that you feel capable of doing is probably the best thing you can do. And I would say pick things that you love or that always make you feel like you are casting a vote for the person you want to be. And no matter what has happened in the past, like, we can't undo it. It's really useful to take a kind of fatalistic view of the past, because it can't have happened any other way, because it didn't, and it's done, and there's no way back. We can't undo it. So we have to move on from where we are. We have to start from where we are. We can't worry about what we should have done, and we can't think about where we would be if we hadn't done it, because all of those things rip us into pieces, and then those pieces fight with each other. So we have to come together as a whole self. We have to start from now and say, it is what it is. I did what I did, and I have to begin from here. This is where I start, and this is how I'm going to do it. And so for me, that's what I'm investing in. I will talk to my coach about it, and she can help me unpack and get beneath the layers of whatever else is going on, because that's the other thing with any kind of healing or personal growth or development that you do, is it's never done. I'm reading Denise Duffield Thomas's book, Get Rich Lucky Bitch, and she says, new level, new devil. So like, no matter how far you progress, you still encounter these setbacks, these blocks, these sabotages. And the more I think about it, the more I think actually that's what's going on here, because my business is beginning to take off. I'm beginning to get a little bit more exposure. People are beginning to contact me. And God's honest truth is I'm a little bit scared. I'm a little bit scared. And so what I think I've done over the last couple of weeks is I think I have sabotaged that. And it would be helpful now to do some work around that, so that I feel capable, feel able, and can step up and do the next thing, go to the next level, and not sabotage myself and go backwards. And maybe it's the same for you if you're an entrepreneur or a business owner, and there are things that you're doing. Maybe even it's a new relationship, or there's something that you're doing in your life that is causing you to retreat. And so you are engaging in habits that you thought you had let go of. It's worth just kind of getting beneath the surface of that. And as always, if you need help with that, you know where I am, bighappylife.co.uk. You can reach out, you can book a discovery call, it's free, 30 to 45 minutes. We just talk about what's going on for you and figure out like what are the habits that you are getting stuck in, and that are maybe casting votes for the person you feel you used to be, but not the person you want to be anymore. And how do you start casting votes for the person you want to be, for the life you want to have, for the role model you want to be for your kids? And, that's really all any of us can ever do, is just keep progressing, keep learning, keep growing, and keep showing up for ourselves, and keep doing it in ways that build our self-trust, build our self-esteem, and build our self-love and self-worth. All of those things kind of accumulate to make us able to do the big things, to have the big lives, and to make those lives happy. I hope that's helped you. I'd love to know your comments. If you have any comments, you want to leave them below this video or on the show notes page at bighappylife.co.uk. I'd love to hear from you. And if you think this episode would be helpful to anyone else, please do share it. Share it far and wide. And I would be so grateful if you could leave a review and let me know what you thought. For now, though, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.